Hello guys, in this part we need to see how can I implement all what we had learned so far in practical. So our idea is to create a database, and in that database we will see how to deal with the schema table, then how to deal with the main tables for data, how we can create attributes, then later how to define the primary keys, and finally how to create a relationship. All of that we have to see it to be able to implement it later and build on it once we go in advance in this course. Okay, so I do not want to implement everything now because it's going to take a very long time. We start with the basic. My idea now is I want first to see how can I use GUI, graphical user interface, to build a table, or to build first of course a database, and inside the database we need to build schema table and then data table. Then we need to provide the data and we continue from there, and also how to use the command lines to do the same work. In both cases, we need first to access to our management studio for SQL Server, and of course we log in as administrator. Here now we need to connect successfully, and this is what you have. You have now your databases, and this is where we are going to work. I want now to create, according to this image, a new database, and in that database I need to have a schema database or table, and also to have data table. So the first thing you need to do is to create a database. How to create a database? It is an easy task. You access to the database itself here, right click and a new database, and we can call this one as employees database. Now the database itself will contain two files, one which is the database itself with the size of it. In here now you can check if it is enable auto growth. This is checked by default, and in megabyte the size of it, the file growth, and maximum file size you can limit it or unlimited, and it is in megabyte. Here we keep everything as it is. We don't need to change anything. I don't need to add any other database to the main database or any other file for the database. And we have another file which is for log. Log is going to save all the transaction of the database. Again, it has the same space, and I don't need also to modify anything. So for now I'm happy with what I have. This is for the general. With the options, here we have more information about the database, the recovery model you can use, compatibility level for SQL Server 2019. Maybe you'll have another instance, I will assume, which is 2014. And here you want to create a failover clustering, so you want this database to be compatible with SQL Server 2014. In that case, you will use the 2019 interface here to build the database, but you make it compatible to 2014 if you want. More options are in there. We don't need to use anything or change anything for now. And as you see, we have a long list. This is in options, and in file groups, here it's a primary file group which belongs to this database, and the file is in there. We set it to the default of the settings, number of files 1. If you add another, in general, if you add one more file in here, then it's going to be added to this file group, or if you want to add some additional file groups. For now, you don't need to change anything with all of these, just keep it to the default setting. Later, with some advanced techniques, we might need to alter some of these definitions relating to the database. Now the database which I need to create again, sorry, I just clicked cancel accidentally, a new database. Again, the name of it, we will call it employees. I have it, and automatically the logical name employees for the main file and employees log. Keep everything as is, we don't need to change, and okay. And here we have the employees now. Now the next step, according to our design here, currently I want to create now two tables. One table is going to contain the information of the employee number, employee last name and date of birth, and the second table relating to the doctor ID, doctor name, doctor number, and specialist region number. We are not going to split that because you remember through the normalization process we already split also the information of the doctor. I will assume this table is valid and all doctors, they got their specialist number, so in that case there is no need to normalize this table. I just need to create these two tables. Now because I have two main entities, we have the employee and we have the doctor, then in that case I need to create two schema tables. One belongs to the employee and the other one to the doctor. Let us see what is the schema table first. Why do I need even to have it? What if I just go and start immediately to create tables? You can do that, and in that case the schema table, which is a variable, check the security. In security you have schemas, and this schema you have this DPO. Everything by default is going to belong to database object. If you right click access to properties, it tells you schema contains database object such as tables, views, and stored procedure. A schema owner can be a database user, a database role, or application role. So the DPO by default is the owner of everything unless you determine a specific schema, and then later you can change the settings of the schema. So the employees schema, they have their own setting with the tables and procedures, everything. And the same with, for example, the doctor schema, etc. So that's why it's important to create a schema. For now, even if you don't create it, there would be no problem. But we just need to see the practice of the creation. What I need to do now, we already have the schema now for the employees. So in the schema, right click, I create a new schema. This schema name, I'm going to call it doctor. And the schema owner, I can keep it by default. And by default, DPO, database object, is going to control this schema. So I don't need currently to assign it to anyone. This is my okay. I have now the doctor schema. And the other one, a new schema, I will call this one employee, not employees, because employees is the name of the database. You have no problem if you name it even employees, but it's better all the time not to use the same name, because later it might, especially when you use code, you might start to mix things, the name of the database with the name of the table, etc. So this one also we have okay. We have the two schema. Now if I check the doctor properties, again, of course, you have the same explanation. As you see, the schema owner is DPO by default. Again, you have general information, script here, script action to new query window if you want to put a script into a file. Permissions, now currently you don't assign any permissions. Extended properties also, you have nothing to add at this stage. Once we're done now with both the doctor and employee schema table, the next step is create the data table itself. So you can jump now to the employees, right click. Let us check what's going to happen if I want to create a new database. If I want to create a new database, and this is one of the major mistakes, then you are going to create a new database under the existing database. And this is not our goal. Our goal, the database here is solid. The employees is just a single database. And inside it, we need to create tables. So what I need to do, I need to access to tables. By default, you have system table, file table, external table, and the graph table. If you expand them, as you see, they are empty. Now in tables, in here, you want now to create your data table, and your data table is supposed to reflect the information you have it in here. So the first data table, right click, select a new table. And here the system automatically opens this designer for you. Don't worry about the name. When you try to save it, the system will allow you to change the name of it. The schema currently, DPO is the one controlling this table. So here I need now to provide the column name. Maybe we just exit the full mode. So I can put down here my table, as you see. So currently now with this table, the first field is going to be SSN, which is the security number. And what's important now is the data type. And the data type for this one, you can make it integer. We are not going to explain now all the data types, but integer, it is like a correct number. There's no fraction in that number. It is an integer number. Allow nulls, no. Each employee has to get his own SN number. And then I need, of course, to provide now his employee underscore last name. And with this one, we can provide now var character. And we make it 50 and allow null again. We are not going to allow that. And we have date of birth. And with date of birth now, you have multiple options. As you see, we have time stamp, and also we have dates. Here we have date time 2. You have date time offset, just date. I will pick for now date. I will assume I have no idea. And then later we will see. When I'll try to provide or to feed the data into the table, I will see if it is suiting me, then I will keep it. If not, it is easy. You can jump back to the design and redo it. So there is no problem with it. But you need to spend time with data types to be able to pick the right one according to your table. And date of birth, again, I'm not going to allow it to be null. Now I am done with the design of the table. Maybe for the schema, currently it is DPO. I want to change that into employee schema, and all is good. All what I need to do now is just to save. When I save, now this is the name of it, which is table. I'll just call it employee. You can name it anything you want. And maybe sometimes you can add to it employee info. Why? Because according to the big design we have it, later you might have employee phone, employee job title, etc. So employee by itself is not going to be enough. It's better to add another word to it to know exactly this table, what does it mean. This is my okay now. We're done with the first table. Now, if I refresh the table, then as you see, the name is employee.employee.info. The first employee is for the schema, as we see in here. And then the name of the table itself is employee.info. So in that case, because now I have already the schema, then there is no need for the second employee. I can just use employee, which is the schema, and don't info, which is the real table. Of course, whenever you do anything, you need to save, make sure everything is fine, and then you need to refresh. Now, if I check the tables, here I have now employee, the info. I can do the same now with the doctor ID to create the table. So for me, I'm going to finish this video now. I will add a doctor ID table. Then in the next video, I'll just show you exactly what is the data type I have in there, and we continue from there. Thanks for watching.